I'm going to give you an example of an addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division question for your math test for tomorrow. And take good notes of these. These might be very similar to the problems that you will see on the test. I'm going to start with an addition problem. So I have 16.5 plus 13 5/8. And whenever you're working these kinds of problems, you always have to find a common denominator before you can work it. And when I look at this, I know that 2 goes into 8. Therefore, 8 is my least common denominator. If you don't see it that way, you can also always use upside down division and find out that 2 and 8 share a common factor of 2. So if I divide them out and multiply 2 times 1 times 4, I would get 8. So I need to rewrite these fractions using 8 as my least common denominator. So if I take 16 and I put that over 8, your fraction over 8, and then this bottom one's kind of nice because it's already out of 8. I can just leave it as 13 5/8. Okay, so when I look at this question here, I need to figure out how did I get from 2 to 8? What did I multiply by? If I look, I multiplied 2 times 4 gave me 8. Therefore, 1 times 4 is going to give me 4. All right, at this point, I have my denominators the same, so I can go ahead and add them. If I were to take 4 plus 5, I get 9. And then you really keep your denominator as 8. And then if I take 16 plus 13, I come up with 29. So I really get 29 and 9/8. You cannot leave 9/8 in your answer, so you have to change that into a mixed number and add it to 29. So if I take 9 and divide it by 8, 8 goes into 9 once. 1 times 8 is 8. If I subtract, I have 1 left over. So I really have 1 and 1/8. And 1 and 1/8 and 9/8 are the same thing. So I'm going to take away the 9/8 and add this over here to my 29. So 1 plus 29 is 30. And if I put my 1/8 on there, my answer should be 30 and 1/8. Okay, next I'm going to show you a subtraction problem. All right, with the subtraction problem, you're basically going to do the same thing. You got to find your common denominator, and then you're going to go ahead and have to subtract them out. So the subtraction problem that I'm going to show you is one that deals with borrowing. I know that can be a little tricky. So if I take 13 and 2/9, and if I subtract 7 and 1/3, I should find out that my least common denominator.
Good afternoon. At this time, boys basketball, please be dismissed for your game at Coolidge. 7th and 8th grade boys basketball players, please be dismissed as you prepare for your game at Coolidge. Thank you.
Okay, so on this problem here, you would find out that 9 is your least common denominator. Since 3 goes into 9, that would be my LCD. So I need to rewrite these two numbers using 9 as my denominator. Again, like the last problem, 9's already your denominator, so you don't have to redo that one at all. But if I take this one, I have to write it as 9 and something out of 7 and something out of 9. Okay, so I figure out that from 3 to 9, I really multiplied by 3, and 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, you see right over here, now that you have the common denominator, you're actually going to have to borrow here. You cannot take 2 minus 3, since it's a smaller numerator here and a larger one here, you have to borrow from the 13. So if I take away 1 from the 13, and I move that 1 over here, since my denominator is 9, I want to use 9 out of 9, which is really 1. So I borrowed 9/9, but I already had 2/9, so I have to combine those. 2/9 and 9/9 is really 11/9. So at this point, I need to take 11/9 minus 3/9, and I get 8/9, since 11 minus 3 is 8, and then 12 minus 7 is 5. 8 and 9 don't share any common factors besides 1, so therefore my answer to this problem is going to be 5 and 8/9. Okay, the next problem I'm going to show you is a multiplication problem. Now, if you watch this video, tomorrow on your test, as soon as you get your test, at the top it'll say Chapter 7 test. I want you to draw a circle around that, and that'll get you bonus points. That'll take the place of one that you missed by watching the video. Circle Chapter 7 test tomorrow when you take the test. Okay, moving on to the multiplication problem. I'd like to give you one such as 1 and 1/9 times 3/5. Okay, whenever you go to multiply out mixed numbers, you always have to take and turn it into an improper fraction first. So to do that, I need to take 1 times 9, which is 9, and add 1, which is 10, and you keep your same denominator, which was 9, and then you're going to multiply by 3/5 here. Now, the nice thing about this problem, I can simplify diagonally before I go through and work this out. Otherwise, I'll just be working with bigger numbers. You could get the right answer that way, but to make it easier, I can find out that 3 and 9 have a common factor of 3, so I can divide them both by 3. And 3 divided by 3 is 1, 9 divided by 3 is 3, 5 and 10 also share a common factor of 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now, the next step is you just have to multiply your numerators and multiply your denominators. So 2 times 1 is 2, and 3 times 1 is 3. So my answer here is really 2/3. Okay, and the last problem I'm going to give you is division. Okay, if I take a division problem, I have 3 1/3, and if I go to divide that by 1 2/5, okay, same thing with the multiplication problem. You have to turn these into improper fractions. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Keep your same denominator, which is 3. And I'm going to divide that by this improper fraction. So 1 times 5 is 5, plus 2 is 7, and keep your same denominator of 5. Okay, now the rule for dividing fractions is that you leave the first fraction alone. So I'm going to leave 10/3 alone, and you're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Reciprocal just means to flip it. So if I flip 7/5, it really becomes 5/7. Okay, now it just turns into a multiplication problem from here. I cannot simplify diagonally since those only share a 1 and these only share a 1. I'm going to take 10 times 5, which is 50, and 3 times 7, which is 21. Now, only thing I need to do here is change this from an improper fraction to a mixed number, and I have my final answer. So if I take 50 and divide it by 21, since it was 50 21st, 21 goes into 50 2 times. 2 times 21 is 42. And if I subtract those, I get 8 left over. So my answer would be 2 and 8 21st when I get done with that problem. Okay, if you understood these 4 problems, take really good note of them. You might see them again tomorrow on your test, hint, hint. And good luck, and I'll see you tomorrow in class.